The Rams are on a roll, and while there have been a couple bumps along the way, mainly against Indianapolis, they just convincingly beat the defending Super Bowl champions. What's more, Sean McVay changed a lot of his system to be able to do it. Usually when watching McVay and the Rams, there's a steady build and linear fashion to the play calling. He starts with outside zone and under center work and then graduates to boot action and screens off of all that backfield motion. And that's exactly how both their games against the Bears and the Colts started. McVay is great at layering and building off previously established concepts to put the defense in conflict. However, against Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, and the rest of the Tampa Bay front seven, that can be hard to do. They're stout enough up front to plug things in the run game without any additional help. They have linebackers that can cover and chase, and they have a secondary that typically sits in a too high shell to prevent the deep shots off of play action. All those things are problems for the Rams' offensive system that's now using Sony Michel as their lead back. That's why McVay and LA shifted to running out of shotgun, sprinkling in RPOs, and used a ton of drop back passing instead of pounding their heads against the proverbial Tampa Bay wall. In fact, the Rams didn't run a single boot action with the sail concept attached to it in the entire game. That concept is usually one of their most bread and butter plays, and they get to it at least 4 or 5 times every single game. Instead of using their normal play progression, the Rams used tempo, drop back passes, and some spread and empty formations. While Stafford missed some big throws early, it got Tampa to stay in their 2 safety shell for most of the game. To slow down the run defense of the Bucs, the Rams used RPOs and continued to use pre-snap motion and movement. Here, the Rams use a relatively common look out of shotgun with Cooper Kupp motioning to the bubble while they run outside zone the opposite direction. If the outside linebacker to the bubble side bumps out, Stafford hands the ball off. When facing heavier boxes, this is a way to skew numbers back in the favor of the offense. While those RPO looks didn't gash Tampa, they were enough to get them to slow down a little, both in pass rush and in run defense. And when you're facing such a dynamic front, that's really important if you're going to be doing a lot of drop back game. The Rams used some RPO and drop back passing, but they also got to a number of screens throughout the game to help slow down the rush and aggressiveness of the Tampa Bay defense. McVay usually works those screens off of boot action and throwbacks, but he found ways to create the same looks out of shotgun without those run fakes. 2 separate times, they used some push motion in the backfield to draw eyes to the running back before throwing back to the tight end, who was either in a nub or split out wide. Both times, that motion pulls defenders away from the screen and creates better angles for the offensive linemen to help wash guys out. These are all pretty basic tenets of the McVay offense, just run slightly differently. Horizontal stretch and flow is created by the motion, the blocking scheme, and the formation. Instead of the jet sweeps and run fakes, he just used the push motion from the running backs, screens, and empty formations to get to those same ideas and looks. If the defense flows or over-adjusts, he comes back the other way. If they don't, Stafford can throw to the numbers and find easy yardage. Operating from the shotgun just creates more space, more clear reads, and gives Stafford a better view of the field with the ability to get the ball out quickly if he feels pressure versus play action where you have to turn your back to the defense. The Rams' use of empty formations created isolated situations with the Rams receivers on the Tampa Bay defense. When Tampa kept their 2 high safeties versus those empty formations, that offered a lot of room to operate underneath. McVay did a great job of combining concepts out of those empty formations to give Stafford as many options as possible to combat whatever shell and defense the Buccaneers got into. By working this out of quads, the Rams are putting the Tampa Bay defense in a bind. LA is running both the sail and Mills concept in one play. Mills has a post and dig to the same side, and sail uses 3 routes at 3 different levels on the same side of the field to create a vertical stretch on defenders. The number 1 receiver, Van Jefferson, is running the post which occupies the corner, who has to attach to that receiver if they go vertical. That route alone now isolates the flat defender. That defender has to choose between covering the running back, who's chipping before releasing to the flats, and covering Cooper Kupp on the deep sail route. Meanwhile, the safety is keying Cooper Kupp, who's the number 2 receiver, in case he goes vertical. He's responsible for him if he does, but that safety also can't leave their corner out to dry, because that corner is playing with outside leverage, and if the safety vacates, there's now a window for the post. So that safety has to make sure that post window is closed before he comes down on that sail route. That potential window to the post in the middle of the field is even more present because the backside safety is looking at number 3, who's running the deep dig and creating the Mills concept. If that play side safety takes the cheese on either the sail or the dig, the post is open for a deep shot. However, both of those safeties play pretty disciplined to both protect the post and pick up the dig, and that means, as mentioned before, that the flat defender is the one that's left in conflict between that flat and the sail. As soon as the deep safety turns their hips to protect the inside of the post route by Jefferson, Stafford begins his throwing motion to hit the sail route. There's also a tight window opportunity to the dig on the backside, with the single receiver running a sit route that's run in front of the linebacker on that side. That holds that linebacker and creates a window behind them. While they didn't boot into the sail concept, McVay still made sure to use the sail concept itself. This time he combined sail with mesh. Now the number 3 receiver to the quad side and the receiver at the top are creating a rub, and that springs Deshaun Jackson for a big gain underneath. The Rams have caught the Bucs in man coverage on 3rd down, and the safety tries to jump the opposing underneath drag route to prevent the first down. However, that vacates the entire top side of the field for Jackson, and it's a big gain with the corner trailing him being rubbed by the linebacker. None of this is really the prototypical McVay offense, but that's the extra element that Stafford brings to the Rams. He can beat you on pure drop back passes while also being able to run the outside zone and boot game that McVay is known for. LA is incredibly balanced, and if McVay and Stafford are adaptable enough to revamp their offense from week to week, they're going to be a tough team to stop. Hey guys, I appreciate you watching all the way through. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know someone, a scheme, idea, person who you want to see broken down here in the future. I'm also releasing a speaking football course that goes over the basics of the language of football, what techniques are, what alignments are. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description.